Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Brain Food Show. It's the show that you all wait for, that you all love, that you all enjoy and leave reviews. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that at 1,000 reviews, we're giving away a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Absolutely nothing to do with that. You guys leave reviews out of the goodness of your own hearts. And it doesn't matter if you're leaving a review on the iTunes America store, because I know you're not all Americans. What do you think it's American? 70%? 60%?
Yeah, probably.
Do we know? It's
No.
about that. It's about that on YouTube, so I figure it's got to be about the same.
Yeah.
Leave a review wherever you go. Listen to your podcasts. We'd appreciate it. And we'll pull the reviews from all the big ones, and we'll give away that gift card. What fun! And don't think that if you're in Britain and you're like, ooh, well, I'm going to get a £1,000 Amazon gift card. You're not. You're going to get like $970 or whatever the equivalent is these days. Yeah. How are you? Sorry. Welcome. Nice to have you with me, David. It's not just my show.
Doing well. And yourself?
Corona free.
Nice.
Are we starting with a quick fact or what? Because
Yeah,
I know what people are most excited about.
It's
the
not like
Skillshare read that's going to come in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's not exactly like quick, but it is interesting because there's Easter, coming up ish. I don't know when, but at some point.
I can't wait. It's my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That was a lie.
Yeah. So Easter tie-in. So where the difference? So this is again for people who I don't know. It's going to be in the title, so never mind. Difference between part 2. So this one, the difference between like the BCE and BC and all that, and more like how
we get a lot of shit for that, by the way.
Yeah, because
like, you use BCE.
It doesn't
You're
matter.
Such a social justice warrior.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which one you use. You're going to get a lot. And so sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes I'll use both. Like I'll just mix it up randomly. Like one time I'll in the same piece, and just to see what people, because then you get both sides complaining. But yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's again, as we'll get, this is going to be a recurring theme of this episode, is just that it doesn't matter if people know what you're talking about, right? That's kind of the point of communication and language. And so in any event, we're going to get lots of comments on that. BCE versus BC, of course, BCE before Common Era and BC before Christ. So I think everybody kind of knows that, but we're going to get into more how did these two things come about in the first place? And so that's where we're going to start. And then later we're going to go into the difference between like a lot of British and American things, like particularly language, because it's kind of a language themed episode, but probably I'm sure we'll get in tangents of like other differences as well along the way. So BCE before Common Era, BC before Christ, obviously, so they mean the same thing, just previous to the year 1 CE, Common Era, or AD 1. And this one, Anno Domini is how I would say that. How would you say that?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, or Anno maybe, Domini, because there's a double N.
I've got my iPad in front of us.
I have looked it up. I spent like an hour.
Oh wait,
looking this up. Just start because there's so many different things, and so then I got down the rabbit hole of I found this professor of Latin, and he was giving like Latin tutorials I was watching. Yeah.
Oh, there's two options apparently.
Yeah, so this professor of Latin I'm watching, and he kind of like, I would almost say it was more like Domini, but he didn't quite get into because the I doesn't have the accent over it, so it'd be like Domini, but at the same time, or Domini, but I'm going to go with Domini because that's how I say it, and that's how a lot of people say it, and so, in any way.
Latin's a dead language. It's as dead can be. It killed off all the Romans, and now it's killing me.
Yeah, and so
what I remember from Latin class at school.
Yeah. So I actually took like almost a year of Latin in college, and I don't really even remember.
College? I took it back in the day.
Yeah. No, I took a ton of classes. I spent 10 years at college. Most of it.
Yeah, I know. That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's why you've got 3 doctorates.
Yeah. No, it's why they almost kicked me out of, like, they almost just said, you're going to graduate with general studies unless you pick something, because I had like 250 credits or something at that point. So then I picked something, and then I got a master's just to stick around longer. Yeah.
You're in fact still there.
Yeah. I was still in the same town, but then I jumped right into this job of learning things. So anyways, 81.
Like the Van Wilder of YouTube.
Yeah, making money learning stuff, which is fun. So anyways, the Anno Domini means in the year of our Lord. So where did this dating system come from? So the first of these was the Anno Domini system. So prior to the 6th century AD, most Christians would actually use Anno Mundi, which is the year of the world, which I think that would be great. I wish we kind of went with that, because then it would be like the year 6000 or something based on these calendars, of course, like the Jewish calendar and stuff at that point. That just seems cooler, I don't know, than 2000.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Be like living in the future.
Yeah, right. That's what it would seem like.
Yeah.
But
I'd
anyways.
be disappointed though. We still probably wouldn't have hoverboards.
No, it would be just the same, but sound cooler.
Oh yeah, of course it would.
Yeah, it would sound like society's like, I don't know, older. Then I mean, it's the same either way, but it sounds cooler. Anyways, so either that or they relied on the Roman dating system, which either sort of marked it by Romulus and Remus, supposedly when they founded Rome, 753 BC, or relying on the dating system at that point, at this point in the 6th century. AD was the Roman Emperor Diocletian, which so he based his on the accession of himself to power, and so that's what that one. And this was a super common one at the time, but most Christians were not super fond of Diocletian because he, killed them and like brutally persecuted them through most of his reign.
Yeah.
So they were,
not.
Yeah,
They wouldn't love him.
Yeah, you
wouldn't.
You wouldn't love like doing dates by him. Yeah. And so, if in the first place, like, why did he start persecuting them? Apparently, supposedly, Apollo of Didyma. Yeah, fun fact: Apollo of Didyma. He supposedly received like from the oracle there. Basically, he needed to get rid of the Christians because the gods were super angry with them, the Roman gods. And so he first just started trying to like ban Christianity. And so you couldn't, if you're a Christian, you couldn't be a part of the military. You couldn't be in the ruling body or anything like that. And so then he thought that would be cool. And that didn't work out. So then it sort of escalated from there where he started,
What sort of punishment is that? Oh no, I can't be in the military.
Yeah, exactly. And so
I guess I won't have to go and die.
Yeah, and so then he just sort of tried to get, just worship the Roman gods too, and then we're all good, and then they'll be happy. But Christians were kind of refusing, as you might expect. And so then he started taking their property, destroying their homes, burning their texts and all that. And then when that didn't work, he started arresting and having them tortured, and particularly with their leaders and stuff. And that didn't work. And then then that didn't work, they started just having them killed like in mass and like tossing them in the arenas to be eaten by animals for the amusement of the masses and all that sort of business.
At some point, I'd be like, yeah, sure, Jupiter sounds great. Or like whoever they, yeah. Oh, sure, I'll worship whoever you tell me to.
Yeah, he doesn't need to know, but
I love it.
People don't like to be told what to do, I think, in mass. So either way,
when they're like, we'll throw you to the lions, or do what I say.
Yeah, rip to pieces.
Then I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Zeus, he's pretty awesome.
I mean, when someone takes my stuff, that's when, if they ask me to aggressively, I'd be like, okay. Like that's when I'd cower out of it. I've had enough of this. You talk to me sternly.
Yeah. So by AD 311, though, by imperial decree, the Great Persecution ended, and a few years later, Constantine the Great, in a great shift, he became a Christian, and so when he was reigning, then Christian became the dominant religion in the Roman Empire. So that's like a short span from like throwing him to the animals, and then now it's like we're all Christian. But
do we know why he changed?
I don't know. I didn't read into that. I assume
you realized there was one true Lord.
Yeah, yeah. Basically,
and it wasn't Jupiter.
Yeah. So this brings us. So what does this have to do with Easter? So the first Council of Nicaea or Nicaea.
I think it's Nicaea, but I'm not sure.
Nicaea, yes, I believe that's great. That sounds right.
Yeah.
So that was AD 325.
Pronunciation God.
Right there, yeah. Yeah, how did you know that one? Did you just like...
I'm sure it's one of those ones that I don't know. On my biographics channel, we've covered like literally every Roman because everyone loves Romans apparently.
Yeah.
So Nicaea. Carry on. I'm just going to look it up, and then the weird robot man from the computer will shout it at us.
All right. So they
at some point
they determined or sort of figured out when Easter should occur, and so basically on the Sunday following the first full moon after the spring equinox, just to make it as complicated as possible. So they needed to, of course, forecast when these would be each year because it's going to be a little different every year. So they would create these Easter tables. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So either way, so in AD 525, there was a monk by the name of Dionysius Exiguus of Scythia Minor who was working on his tables to determine when the Easter fell. And he decided, of course, because Christians hated Diocletian, he decided we're gonna get rid of the references to Diocletian. And in this case, he set his table's first year that he had come up with. And again, this is projecting in the future, not like that specific year, as Anno Domini 532. And in it, he explicitly states this was referring to the year directly following the last year of the old Diocletian-based table, Anno Diocletiani 247. So if you do the math on this, that ends up being that he figured.
Confused.
Yeah, so that basically that just means at the point that he made this table, and this new system, he figured out it was about 525 years since Jesus was born. So that's kind of that was the year one of this new system. So how did he come up with this figure? Nobody knows because he didn't write it down. He just came up with it. So, but more modern biblical scholars and whatnot think he wasn't that far off. Like it's general 6 to 4 BC or so was when most scholars today would say, biblical scholars would say that Christ was born. So whatever the case, he came up with this year and the Anno Domini system, and sometimes called the Dionysian era after him, or the Christian era. And it didn't catch on with the masses at first. The clergy in Italy did pick it up pretty good and use it. They were using his Easter tables and whatnot. And so it did kind of slowly spread from there. But most notably where it really kind of took off a little bit was in the 8th century with the English monk Bede, which people probably better know as the Venerable Bede. So he used this dating system in his ecclesiastical...
Did we just add Venerable to his name later?
I assume so.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's cool. I want to be known like 100 years as the Venerable Simon.
Yeah. So he and
it's
his...
not going to happen, but I can dream.
You never know. You're in a lot of channels. You'll be like,
That's true.
Just keep it up.
I'll be as great as that English monk in the 8th century.
Keep expanding. So Ecclesiastical History of the English People, written around AD 731, he used it. So... and this kind of popularized that. And he also popularizes in this one the concept of BC, but he didn't actually use like BC in his thing. He just he basically, if you've ever noticed, there's no zero. It's AD 1 and then BC 1. There's no 0 year here. And he was the one who first kind of did this. So they ignored any potential 0 year. And I assume that's probably, like I didn't look it up, but I would guess. I know the 0, of course, in like... in some places it was around at this point, but I don't think in like Western Europe the 0 was popular yet. I think it was like the Muslims introduced it to Spain. And then
the whole concept of having a 0 altogether.
Yeah, like they had a concept of nothing, but not the number 0. And so like in math and stuff. And so I don't know do you know when the Muslims like invaded Spain and then was that around?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a no. No, I do not.
Okay. I know that's when the 0 started to, gain steam in Western Europe. So whenever that happened. So maybe I assume that's probably why they didn't have a 0 here. Like that would just make sense. So either way.
It's got to be a good invention, right? Some guy's like, guess what, guys? I come up with a symbol for nothing. Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty handy.
Yeah. Yeah. So in any event, so this, he mentions in there, so he didn't, as I said, he didn't use the abbreviation BC, but he did have a Latin ante incarnationis Domici tempus, which means before the time of the Lord's incarnation. And so he used that as sort of the backdating method. And so this kind of caught on, that, but not the abbreviation caught on initially. And so it wouldn't actually be until the late 17th century that before Christ would become a thing. And it wouldn't actually be until the 19th century that it would be abbreviated. So it's actually kind of recent. So
there you go.
Yeah. In any event, going back to the 8th century and the Anno Domini.
This is the longest quick facts I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's not too quick, but
you weren't kidding.
No, I thought it was super interesting. So it was used under Emperor Charlemagne, used it in the 8th century, and then in the 11th century, it was adopted.
So you want to know something fun about Emperor how do you say it?
Charlemagne, yeah.
You know the correct pronunciation on that is Charlemagne, but everyone thinks it's Charlemagne. And so we did a video, a biographics video, and everyone was like, who's Charlemagne? And I'm like, that's the correct way of saying it. Just because there's a famous radio DJ who calls himself Charlemagne the God doesn't mean that's the correct pronunciation of the historical figure.
Yeah.
People were not happy about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh God, have I screwed it up again? Because I did do an entire video pronouncing Leonardo da Vinci, Da Vinci. Yeah. And I was like, no, it's Da Vinci. And then I looked it up and I was like, It's definitely not. My bad.
Yeah, another one
But it is Charmaine.
you used to do in the very earliest when you were narrating the podcast for the before we did YouTube. You used to do, instead of saying touted, you used to say tooted, which has a different connotation.
Yeah, no, that was another one.
That was a funny
another
one.
Was the Nobel Prize rather than the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
Was another. You just, it's like, yeah, that, of course that's how you say it.
Yeah. So, anyways, so the 11th century.
French.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you want to be French, Charlemagne, but English,
Yeah.
Charmaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So, 11th century, the Roman Catholic Church officially adopted this system. So now, moving on to CE or BCE. So, the seeds of this actually started in the 17th century, but not as like CE and BCE. Actually, it was initially the Vulgar era, which vulgar now, of course, has a different definition than it did back then. But back then, it just meant ordinary or common. So it was kind of the CE common era, right? But you would just say, the Latin vulgaris. So just sort of or belonging to the common people was what they were going for there. And the first documented instance of this was in Latin vulgaris erae. It was used interchangeably with Anno Domini in Latin works, such as the famous scientist Johannes Kepler was one of the first. 1615, 1616, and 1617 he used this in various works of his. And then from there, just the English translation of Kepler's work, 1615 work in 1635 used it, again using the vulgar. And later, of course, vulgar came to mean like coarse or unrefined, that sort of thing. And so that started fading away. And around the 20th century, when that definition really became popular, then everyone stopped saying the vulgar era and just went with the common era instead. And that one was the first documented instance was, I believe, where was it? In the History of the Works of the Learned, 1708. And then also David Gregory's The Elements of Astronomy in 1715. And then moving on from there, we also have another CE. There was the Erae Christianae. And then that just translates to the Christian era, was also another CE that was around the 17th century used. And then, it wasn't until 1831 that the actual abbreviation, the shortened CE, instead of just saying common era, would be used. And then that actually picked up in popularity, as you might expect, for religious reasons. The Jewish people did not particularly care for the whole Christian era or type thing, so they kind of went with the before common era thing. And so the first documented instance of that I could find was in the 1856 Rabbi Morris Jacob Raphael's Post-Biblical History of the Jews. However, there's lots of sources that point to it a little earlier in 1831, but nobody mentions in what. Everyone just says the first instance was in 1831, but no one says in what. When I looked it up and I couldn't find it. So I'm going with the 1856 Rabbi Morris Jacob Raphael's Post-Biblical History of the Jews.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next time people will be like, oh, you're so modern. You just want to do it this politically correct way. I'll be like, no, we're just doing it the Jewish way.
yeah, basically. But yeah, and that's quite old, either way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I still just like to mix it. I use both in the same article and then just everyone gets upset with me. Or you, I guess,
Good.
when you read it.
Yeah. Guess what? The good news is,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Shall we, is that the end of the quick facts?
It is.
I say that very loosely.
Yeah, it is.
Shall I do what everyone I think this is mostly what people tune in for.
It is. Well, it's the reason they get to tune in because, that's why we're doing this episode.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Wait, that's why we're doing this episode, to make money?
Yeah.
Jesus,
Well, not to
creatively bankrupt or what, David? Come on.
Not to
Come
make
on.
money to
We
cover
do this for joy.
to cover our hosting bills, which
Oh, no, it's okay. I also do it for money.
but we don't actually make money on this one.
Oh, we don't?
No,
That's depressing.
it's just we just sit down and have a chat for fun, basically. Someday,
Great. I mean, it's not like there's other
Someday.
things I could be doing to make money.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
wait.
But this is more like an investment in the future, Simon.
That's true. That's true. Let me tell you, then, about today's sponsor. Because this episode of The Brain Food Show is brought to you by Skillshare, an online learning community for creators with thousands of courses in design, business, and more. I bet they've even got courses on podcasting. I don't have that in my notes, but I'm almost certain they do. Unlike some websites where you have to pay for individual classes. With a premium membership from Skillshare, you get unlimited access, so you can take as many as you want, which is pretty nice. I'm someone, myself, who will jump into just a particular part of a class. I'll extract that little bit of knowledge that I need, and I'll move on. And there's obviously sites where you have to go in, and you pay course by course, and that can be pretty expensive, especially when you're just like, oh, well, I just like part 16b, but I can't access that without paying for the whole thing. Obviously, not a problem with Skillshare. I've talked about some classes I've taken before, and I'd still recommend those. Email productivity class from Alexandra Samuel, or just generally building good habits with Thomas Frank, who I listened to a podcast interview with him the other day on, I don't even remember where it was, but it was pretty good. This guy's pretty smart, like he was in this class. Check those out. Anyway, join more than 7 million creators learning with Skillshare. Skillshare is giving away 2 months of premium membership to help you explore your creativity if you go to skillshare.com/brainfood. But only the first 500 people. So, spots are limited. Skillshare.com/brainfood. After that, if you want to continue, it starts at just $10 a month. I think that's if you just get the annual plan. But that's pretty affordable, right? I should say it's very affordable. And 2 months for free if you're the first 500 at skillshare.com/brainfood. Well, now the rest of the episode is just going to be disappointment because, well, we've peaked. That's sad.
Yeah. So we're going to move into now some differences between British and American English, and not just, so we're going to start out.
I could keep telling you about Skillshare if you'd like, if you'd prefer.
No, there's good I've got
optional talking points.
The guy we're going to talk about later, who's a fan of the show, who's doing that course. It's not out yet. Yeah. That's why I couldn't find it. It's coming though. But we'll talk about that later at the end.
What a slacker! Yeah. He could use that. What was it? That productivity course. Come on, dude.
Yeah. So we're going to start out with some different, the different spellings and how in the first place did British English and American English diverge, and it turns out it happened really quickly, as we'll get into shortly. Yeah, and like immediately.
That was the war? Okay.
Immediately, like it's like, yeah, we're not going to do stuff the British way anymore. And it took one of the I don't know, premier American. I don't know. Would you call him American though? Because obviously he wasn't American because there was no America. At the time, whatever.
We call him a British icon.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Webster, who is like the,
Oh, wait, does he do the dictionary?
Yeah. This guy was the one who...
His popular here as well.
Oh, yeah. So this guy is the one who instituted, like, the vast majority of the changes are because of him. Even why we say Z instead of Z was one of his...
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So many people were like, Simon, it's pronounced zebra. And I was like, yeah, not in Britain.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got the common ones, like eliminating the unnecessary U, duplicate consonants and stuff like that. And the ER ending, instead of RE in a lot of words. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Honestly, these ones are easy.
Yeah.
You guys are right.
Yeah.
Like color. Why is there a U in there? That's just dumb.
Yeah.
Theater. Center.
Yeah.
It's not centra. It's not theatra.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, so this brings us to the US and the British. They kind of, had their differences in their early going. And so right directly after the war, so Noah Webster, he comes up with, he kind of wanted to implement Benjamin Franklin's idea that, do you want to read this one? Because I like it.
Yeah. People spell best who do not know how to spell.
Which is, true.
They spelled it how it's said,
Yeah, and back then, spelling wasn't so standardized or so rigorous as it was today. So,
back in the good old days.
So, 1783, New Nation. Webster publishes his suggestions, the changing certain spellings in the Grammatical Institute of the English Language was his work. And get this, he had an appendix in it titled, this is the title, I'm going to have you read it because I don't want to.
An essay on the necessity, advantages, and practicality of reforming the mode of spelling and of rendering the ornithology of words correspondent to the pronunciation.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I read this
that's
earlier
like a
when I read the
page-turning title, that's flying off the shelves.
I'm going to finish that. I'm going to read that after I finish the latest John Grisham novel.
Yeah. So...
I'm excited.
He eventually would transform this appendix, this little scholarly treatise, into an actual work, the American Spelling Book. And so this was a huge hit in America. So it's just a guide to spelling and replacing.
That's what I'm going to read after.
Yeah.
Reading an essay on the necessity, advantages, and practicality of reforming the mode of spelling and of rendering the orthology of words correspondent to the pronunciation.
Yeah, well, the American Spelling Book was the sequel. So
No.
so
His publisher will be like, I think the long title is putting people off.
yeah, shorten it up. So this replaced the predecessor here was Dilworth's Abbey Selpha was the name of the previous popular spelling guide in America. So and Webster's would become for a century. It would be kind of the gold standard here. Then he published his first dictionary in 1806, the American Dictionary of the English Language. And then, wait a minute, he published his first dictionary in 1806, and then his first American Dictionary of the English Language in 1828. So in it, what he tried to do is simplify the spelling of a number of things. And so this is going to be familiar with modern American English. Basically, a lot of the differences. So you had the U, eliminating the U is one of his, the double consonants, all those things, the RE, what we just mentioned. So he also included a lot of changes that didn't stick, such as he removed the silent E at the end of some words. So you have the word determine, which has that E at the end, and he just got rid of the E and, words like that. Then he tried to get thumb instead of the B at the end, get rid of the B's, get rid of the silent B's. They don't.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
They don't
That's
need to be there.
Necessary.
Yeah.
What about that, K and knife as well? It's not knife.
Yeah, exactly. So this is exactly
why is that there?
Trying to do all these things, get rid of the S in island.
Pneumonia. Why is there a P there?
Yeah. PH. Let's stop with the F in PH. Let's just go with F. Was kind of his thing. Yeah, tons of stuff like that. Also tongue. So you have that ending of the GUE ending. Why do we have that? Why don't we just spell it TUNG?
Oh, yeah. I'm not even sure. I don't think I can even spell tongue now. As an adult, it'll always be one of those ones that autocorrects.
Yeah. So all these words with GUE, those sorts of foreign endings, just get rid of them. Let's just simplify the spelling here.
I don't know how to spell definitely, so much so that autocorrect constantly changes it to defiantly.
Yeah.
So I'll be telling people how I'm defiantly sure about something, and they'll be like, "All right, steady on."
See, I don't know how to spell any. If you were to ask me to spell almost anything, I can't do it, but I can type the right spelling. But my fingers know how to spell
with
it.
autocorrect or without?
Without. My fingers can spell very well, obviously, because I write thousands of words a day. But I can't spell if you were to just ask me, I don't know. For so many words. It's just my fingers know.
I don't know how to do either.
Yeah, how to do it. So either way, this, as you might imagine, these changes were not academics. They don't like change in language, particularly. This isn't a thing we should do, especially simplifying. Why should you need to simplify it? You should be smart enough to be able to spell it the original way.
It should definitely be out of reach. Language should be out of reach of the commoners.
Yeah.
We don't want those peasants getting all uppity with language.
Yeah.
No one likes that.
But
they don't know what's good for them.
Towards the end of the 19th century, the American Philological Association and the International Convention of the Amendment of the English Orthography both decided that they did need changes in English in general, not just for American. So they had both in England and the U.S. were working on it. People like Lord Tennyson, Charles Darwin was in on it. Sir J.H.W. Murray, Sir John Lubbock. So they came up with this grouping of recommendations to do, but in 1886, the American Philological Association decided it kind of came up with its own list, which basically just adopted a bunch of Webster's ideas is what they really went with. And that changed the spelling of about 3,500 words in American English versus British English. And this started to catch on from there, and it was particularly adopted by the wider public in 1921 with H.L. Mackinnon's noted by 1921, and then H.L. Mackinnon notes there was 18 distinct differences, broad categorical difference between English in the two across the ponds. So again, but beyond the ones we already have talked about. So also we had the, like we said, the catalog, GUE at the end versus catalog with log. And you would spell it still with the catalog with the GUE?
Yeah, wait, how do you spell it?
I suppose with the catalog, with the log. LOG.
Just like that, without the UE in the end?
I'm the worst person to ask this because I worked with so many British authors that I'm not always sure what's the American way versus the British way sometimes. So on a lot of things.
The other one, some of these just fall out of use though. Catalog, that looks wrong, but then other ones like program, we generally spell it because it's so computerized now.
Yeah.
Like there's so much computer stuff, we don't spell it the British way anymore.
I also think a little bit so even on the British side, like reading so many articles from American writers, I feel like everyone on both sides is kind of like mingled to like, yeah, that's which one is it? You know, like we kind of a little more interchangeably than it used to be. So that actually gets to some of the lists later. So it was actually an American, Emily Upton, one of the authors or former authors of Today, I found out she came up with the list. She lives in Australia. And so there's some of them, like you noted, that's an Australian thing that she came up with on the list of the difference. And so that she came up with a lot of the lists. And so, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But, so yeah, getting rid of the diphthong. So it used to be like they used to have that AE connected, which that's not really a thing anywhere anymore, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, so that was not that long ago, super common in British English. So just replacing that with simple vowels, which of course British English has made that switch as well.
It looks cool though, the A and the E joined together.
Yeah, and getting rid of so you have like plough, PLOUGH, and making it simplified plough. Basically, all these recommendations, just making it simpler, was kind of.
Wait, we would say plough though, PLOUGH.
Yeah, but in the US, you'd say plough, PL.
Sorry, this is. I was confused. I thought this was the English differences as well.
No. Yeah, so it just kind of the simplified bunch of things like that. See what are some other ones.
We talked about backhoes before, right?
Yeah.
How I had no idea what a backhoe was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a tractor.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, a specific type of tractor, but yeah, basically it's a tractor with the thing. So
I was reading a book and they were like digging a hole with a backhoe and I'm like, what is a backhoe?
Yeah. Oh, and so also
Weird.
switching the C's and the Z's with, S's, that sort of change.
Okay.
Yeah, and so all this, basically, I included here a quote from President Andrew Jackson. I just liked this quote a lot, so you want to read that one?
It's a damn poor mind that can only think of one way to spell a word. I feel like that's, a YouTube comment. Or something I would say to someone who's like, oh, yeah, you pronounced it wrong. And I'd be like, there's many ways to pronounce it.
Yeah, basically, depending on...
You feeble-minded fool.
Yeah. And some ways when only Simon pronounces it.
Yeah.
But you're...
Well, look, dude.
Yeah.
I'm we're the one making all the videos. So, we're just beginning to control the narrative.
It's true. Someone might pick it up and people, because people do. People sometimes write and they're like, hey, I use your videos to help learn English. So you're...
Excellent.
Yeah. You're helping them out. So...
Maybe one day you'll win a Nobel Prize.
Yeah. We do have that experiment coming up with the Ig Nobel Prize. Everyone knows that's like my secret goal is to win an Ig Nobel Prize.
Dude, it's the least secret goal ever.
Yeah, that would be so funny.
You brought it up like 6 times.
I have an experiment coming up, which is going to be another 6 months or so. No one's answered this question. This is a question that needs answered, that the world needs to know. And I've spent...
Have you shared this yet or not?
No, I'm not going to... I don't want someone to steal it. Steal the idea. Okay. Yeah, because this one...
Noted.
Yeah, it is... I feel like the world needs to know it, and it's going to take some time because it can't be done quickly, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm
already excited.
It's my gateway to I got to get it officially published though, I think, to be eligible. Unlike the tapping the can, the shaking can one. I should have done that one because then, that one was kind of like in the ballpark of what they look for as well. But either way.
Well, it's not too late. You can still
I still have all the notes and everything. Either way. That was a good video. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, going to the more broad, so you would say, so I assume you would say, a British person would say, I will come home at the weekend. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, American would never say, it would more like on the weekend, which you would also...
You could say on as well. You could say that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the difference is the British might say on the weekend, but an American would never say at the weekend. It just wouldn't be something you would say.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Say it so I can hear it from your accent.
Yeah, I would come home at the weekend. That's not...
Well, then you just emphasize the at, so obviously it sounds weird.
Yeah, so that's another one. He studied history at university, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but in the US you'd say in college. It'd be... Although I say, that's one of them I say at university a lot just because I get,
We'd say at college as well, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Because college exists here as well, but it's at university.
Most Americans wouldn't say at college or at university. They would just say in college, or in the university or something like that.
Biology in college. Yeah, no, that would sound weird to me.
Yeah. So we also have the got So would you really say you got a sister?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, interesting.
When you've got it here, American English, do you have a sister?
Yeah, that would be.
It sounds almost like if I was in more polite conversation.
Yeah.
So I'd say, have you got a sister? Do you
got
have a sister? It sounds like I'm being more polite.
I guess some people might say,
I
have you
think.
got a sister? But it would be where you would definitely say, do you have a sister? I think would be more here. Either way, have you got time to write this down? Have you? Yeah, I think when you use "got" like that in America, it almost sounds more like what a kid would say, like a kid, like
Yeah, have you got time to write this down? Do you have time to write this down? I feel like I'd say, do you have time to write this down if I was talking to my boss?
Okay, yeah,
Almost, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
And now I'm not sure.
that's exactly on all these. I'm like the worst because I'm like, yeah, it all sounds okay. So let's see. So we got she burnt the toast versus she burned the toast.
Yeah, definitely burnt. You
Okay.
don't burned anything.
No,
Burn's weird.
no, we would definitely go with burned. That's what Carl often would write amongst, and we would just say among.
Oh yeah, amongst.
Yeah,
Like
amongst
the flowers.
Yeah,
Among
amongst
the flowers.
sounds more a
Amongst.
little more uppity to the American. So I would just say,
La-di-da.
yeah.
Look at you with your fancy amongst.
Yeah. So then the gardens, you would say the garden smelt of roses versus
Garden smelled of roses.
we would say the garden smelled. And when you
But
would
it
say,
sounds almost the same. The garden smelled of roses.
Yeah.
Because we kind of swallow the end of the word.
yeah. You would say also when you're saying garden, you would say more like your backyard, right? Like your lawn, your grass lawn.
Yeah, I was wondering what you guys called it. And then I saw this yard somewhere else after I'd read these notes.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So you would just say yard, and a garden would be like
So
where
what's
you,
a garden to you?
you might have like roses, but it would be like a rose like a flower garden where that's like predominantly all that's there. Or a garden would, if you just said garden in general and didn't any qualifier, most people would think you meant like a vegetable garden or like where you're growing food of some sort. But like in a home setting, not like a farm. Just like you have a little, that sort of thing.
Yard to me sounds like somewhere a dog would run around for some reason. I'm not sure if other people have this, but like if a dog would run around in a yard.
Yeah.
I don't think that's accurate or true, but for some reason that's what happens in my mind.
Yeah.
But then a garden is definitely, where the kids play outside.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, go out in the garden and have some fun. Would be like, go outside and play in the yard.
Yeah. We would just say go out in the yard or go out in the backyard. Yeah.
It sounds, I don't know why, but I just imagine it with kind of like a burnt lawn, maybe like a rusty swing set, like maybe an old appliance or two. It sounds just worse, like somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe that's just in my mind.
So we would what about she dived into the lake, really?
Nah, that's weird. I think
That's a
I'd say
weirdo?
dove.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely say dove. I don't know. That one definitely sounded weird. Wetted the paintbrush?
No, that's like, my grandma maybe would say that.
Okay. Yeah.
He wet the paintbrush, not he wetted.
Yeah. This is, I feel like it is, both sides are sort of converging nowadays just because of the internet. Like everyone's so familiar with each. Yeah. So I'm going to have a nap versus I'm going to take a nap. Amir?
Yes, strong preference towards have there. If I said take, I would feel super. If I said that, I'd be like, whoa, I spend too much time around Americans. Like if I found myself, I'm going to take a nap, I'd be like, what's wrong with me?
You're your own commentary in that one. You're like, quit pandering to the American Simon brain. Like,
Yeah. Internal monologue would be like, oh God.
Yeah. So that's similar.
Same with bath.
Yeah. So having a
she
bath
was having a
versus
bath.
taking a bath.
Yeah.
So then there's also
I'm going to take a bath. Weird.
We're going to get into in a bit the difference where we cut off in America. You'd say like math, you cut off the S. So instead of maths, instead of math, we're going to get into this one really detailed here in a little bit as to how the difference came. And this one surprised me because you'd think it was like always a thing, the British always said math and American always said math, but it's not the case on either front. We'll get into that shortly. So then punctuation, you said this is no longer the case where in Britain you would put the punctuation mostly outside of quotes.
I feel that's weird. I would definitely not do that. And I don't think I was taught to do it like that.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
I do it. That looks wrong to me. I know it happens, but if I'm reading a book, it's not going to be like that.
Yeah. The weird part is I grew up...
Hold on. I'll grab a book that I've got here and I'll tell you what it's like. A British published book.
Okay. Yeah. I grew up actually with the latter, with it like actually using it outside for some reason. I don't know why that was the way I was taught. Yeah, but yeah, as I got into college and of course writing online, everyone's like, "Oh, that's wrong, so do it the other way." And then I just started doing it the other way, and so now I don't know. It seems fine either way. Carl still does it with the punctuation outside the quotes usually, unless sometimes he'll like make it so it's more Americanized in his wording of things. But yeah. And then,
So this is a book. It's got pound signs on the back. I think he's a British author. Yeah, it's all on the inside.
oh, cool. That's interesting. Yeah.
There you go.
I wonder, is it different parts of Britain or different educational levels, perhaps? Like where you're, so like Carl.
What are you saying?
Yeah. Well, you were more like the higher end education, right? And so maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more, and similarly over here, because I definitely learned it with it outside, but so many others, it's inside. So
I can ask my sister. She's actually an English teacher.
oh yeah.
She would know the answer.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't right now because she's not here, obviously.
Yeah.
But at some future points I could.
Yeah. So we're going to move on now to the different words. So this one, the most surprising one here was pants. You refer to as underwear, and
Yeah,
I can put on your pants.
we could say underwear as well.
Okay.
But pants are like, but that would more like be tighty whities.
Okay.
I think, like, because I'd say boxers
Okay.
would be like, I wear boxer shorts. I don't wear pants because I'm not 8.
Okay. Yeah, that one I'd heard like most all of these except for that one. It was like, really? That one has never come up. Although we don't. It's not like
Really?
we're talking about underwear a lot in articles. So yeah. Then you got like
I like the one sneakers. You call trainers sneakers, and I'm like, for sneaking around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or I mean, I like tennis shoes would be another name.
No, we don't use tennis shoes either.
Okay. Yeah.
I was confused by this. Unless this is maybe just a Simon thing. Because I remember going to like Spanish class and they call them like, they'd say like tennis shoes or whatever the Spanish is for that. Or maybe they just called them tennis shoes in Spain. And I'm like, that's weird. Because tennis shoes to me would be tennis shoes. Shoes that you like court shoes for playing on a tennis court.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no. Yeah, sneakers for sneaking.
Yeah. So the common ones, we got nappy or diaper, trolley versus shopping cart, torch versus flashlight, the boot or the trunk. That's another. Thongs.
Oh yeah,
thongs. Apparently, this was
call them thongs. Who wrote this?
This was I'm saying. This one was the Australian thing, I think. Instead of flip flops.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We don't call them thongs.
Yeah.
We call them flip-flops. Thongs is a type of women's underwear.
Yeah. So biscuit, cookie, lift, elevator, bum bag, fanny pack, which are they both say the kind of
sorry,
the same
I
thing.
looked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use the word plimsoll would be another word for tennis shoes.
Okay. Plimsoll?
Plimsolls. Yeah.
All right.
I remember now. You'd have plimsolls at school. They're like simple trainers for like indoor sports.
All right.
Yeah.
So bum bag, fanny pack.
Sorry.
That's kind of describing the same thing.
Bum bag and fanny pack.
Basically. So candy floss,
Bum bag.
cotton candy. You would really say go to the chemist instead of go to the drugstore?
Yep, definitely.
Right.
Chemists.
Drink driving.
Boots the chemists.
Drink driving versus drunk driving.
Well, this is a great one.
Yeah.
Like, you call it drunk driving. What if you only had like a couple of beers and you're not drunk, but you're still driving?
The drunk always refers to like intoxicated. You're at that level of drinking.
Yeah, but you can't drink like, what if you're an absolute machine? So you can drink like let's say you could drink 5 pints and you'd still be like, yeah, I'm not drunk, but I think I'm on my way.
I think it would be more.
Then you'd definitely fail the breathalyzer.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the person.
So you're drink driving because you're not drunk driving. You'd pass the do they do the line test anymore?
I think they probably just do breathalyzer. I would imagine, because why?
Right, exactly. Because I think like, okay, this dude who's like a machine, he's going to be able to pass the walk the line test and do the alphabet backwards and all that stuff. But then he's going to blow like you're really drunk.
Yeah.
I think drink driving makes more sense on this one.
Yeah. Would you say fish finger instead of fish stick?
Yes,
okay.
definitely.
Fish finger.
Fish fingers.
All right, cool.
But then a fish stick to me would almost be something else. But then I think that might actually be called a crab stick, which is like a weird, cold, reconstituted fish nastiness that you would be put into cheap sushi.
Yeah. And then some of the more interesting fringe versus bangs for hair.
Yeah, fringe, definitely.
Yeah, I had not heard that one either.
I know what bangs are because of movies.
Yeah. Pram instead of stroller. Queue instead of line. So...
Yeah, I was in the US and I was like, there was a queue, a line for something. And I was like, are you in the queue? And then like, what?
See, that one...
It's like, are you waiting?
That one I think just familiar because of the computer science, like we use queue in that way a lot, like...
Oh, that's true. Like on the Adobe Media Encoder, which we, exports all the videos, that's a processing queue.
Yeah. So we use that a lot in stuff. So that one wouldn't have confused me, but yeah. So yeah, and Z and Z. Oh, so soccer and football. So I just wanted to bring this one up because I am of the opinion that...
Wait, did you do holiday and vacation? Because I see it.
Yeah, holiday and vacation is
because that's an interesting one. Because... You also use holiday though, right?
Yeah, but to refer
that's
to
a national holiday.
Yeah, to refer to like a holiday that lots of people observe or whatever. Whereas vacation is just like if you're going to take time off work and whatever.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. Well,
because we don't use vacation.
You would just use holiday for all of it.
Yeah, but I've started to use vacation in emails to Americans because I realized it caused confusion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So this soccer and football. When you're talking to an international audience, it should always be soccer. And I know all the, football fans out there, they are like, no, it's the proper name's football. But I'm going to make the argument for this, why it should always be soccer when talking to a broad audience.
Well, yeah, your argument is going to be about the whole history and how we used to call it soccer in the UK or whatever.
No, for practical. I mean, I'm going to get into...
Yeah, because I was like, okay, the historical thing is fine.
I'm going to get into the historical thing just because it's interesting.
But the practical... Okay, I'm interested in your practical argument.
But the practical argument, why...
Because I think you're wrong on the face of things.
Okay. So...
And everyone should refer to football, American football as American football.
Yeah, that works too. But... yeah, we'll get into it. But to start, the history. Why is it soccer? And it turns out this was actually, right very quickly after the sport as sort of the codified rules, or the beginning of the codified rules, was put down. Soccer became the popular term in Britain. And so it was initially where that come from, association football, which distinguished it from all the other forms of football. And this got slurred down to a soccer. And then, because that was just a common practice at the time to add at the end of things in Britain. And so soccer then became just soccer. And then that remained the pretty popular name for the sport in Britain until only about a half century ago, when it got completely sort of phased out by just football. And so, of course, why is it soccer then? So there are, not just America, I think there's still a few other countries, not many, that still do. But it's basically when it sort of spread, if there was another form of football that was already dominant or quite popular, people just went with soccer because, it just distinguished it. So we already call this one football. So now we'll call this soccer just to, so we're not getting confused. So talking to a global audience.
Is American football mostly is your football? Isn't it mostly played with a ball in the hand though, like rugby?
Well, but you're running around on feet and all that, and it's derived from rugby.
But then that's not football. That's like running handball.
Yeah, it's derived from rugby. It's just kind of branched off as sort of differing rules, but kind of that's kind of how it all came about. But so when you're talking to an international audience, and you're an American, if you're an American, and I were to say football. Even if I'm calling it the proper name, I'm saying football and this referring to soccer, right? Everyone's going to think, all Americans are going to think I'm talking about American football. And all international people are probably going to think I'm talking about American football as well, because I'm an American, until you give the broader context. And then they'll be like, oh, wait, he's actually talking about soccer, right? Or, So there's confusion there if I just say football. But if I say soccer, nobody's confused. International audience knows what that is. The domestic audience.
Yeah, but the international audience is far bigger, and you guys can just call it American football when you're abroad.
But that's not what I'm trying to say, though, is it's not about which is right. It's which is less confusing without context. Nobody gets confused by soccer.
I'm never confused.
There is going to be confused by football. If I say football.
Yeah.
If you say football, most people will think you're talking about, the international sport, but you might be talking, because you're reading an American script, you might be talking
you are
about American football.
I feel that I have to stand up for this.
Yeah.
But really, your logical argument isn't.
Yeah.
There's not a
Yeah,
flaw.
it's not. I'm not talking about what's right or wrong. I'm just talking about which is less confusing. Once you give broader context, then it's not confusing. But just to say, if I just said a sentence, it's just not confusing. Soccer, there's one and only sport called soccer. There's many sports called football. So that's if you're talking about only an international audience, not really American, that's your primary. Then sure, say football. If you're talking about only an American audience, then of course you just say soccer. But when talking to everyone. Yeah. I feel like soccer is the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, what's that? What's soccer?
Yeah.
The only people who would say that are being purposeful knobs.
Yeah.
Really.
So,
if we're,
Yeah.
Also, it's not something that ever really comes up for me because I have absolutely zero interest in talking about sports.
Yeah. I picked that up. I remember Scott, my brother Scott, was talking to you once, and he tried, because he's like a huge soccer or football fan, and so he's he just kind of assumed like, you're European, you must love soccer, and then you were just like,
we must love
you're just
sports,
like, I don't know anything about that. He was so disappointed.
I know.
Because no one
no
one here will talk about soccer.
I am a disappointment too. Yeah. This is the thing. Whenever someone's like, oh yeah, a British person, the thing we'll have in common, or that they're going to be into is football.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No sport.
It's like now people will be like, oh, the thing we're going to have in common, that everyone has in common, or like, let's say men in their 30s is a love for the Avengers movies.
Yeah.
So all of those Thanos jokes and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be like, no, I don't have that. Someone the other day, I made a video and I was talking about sand and how it's incredibly annoying and how it gets everywhere. And then people were like, it's remarkable that you've never seen Star Wars because you essentially quote Star Wars, despite the fact I had no idea.
And like one of the most
apparently
infamous
Luke Skywalker is onto something.
Infamous lines in the Star Wars when Anakin does that. Yeah.
Oh, it's not even Luke.
Yeah, no, it's in the prequels where it is this is the most cringeworthy scenes you've seen in any movie, and how the actors there's actually some really good actors didn't just be like, no, like Natalie Portman, no, I'm not going to say that. That's stupid. Like how
wait, why was it so stupid? He was talking about sand. It's really
that's the sand part. It's the whole scene. You really just got to go watch this whole scene. It's the most cringe. Like you literally are like cringing. It was like, ooh, that is the worst dialogue of all time. Like,
hold on, I want to add this to my YouTube queue. What's it called?
Just do that. Just is Star Wars the sand scene.
Star Wars sand.
It's the whole scene. Just their dialogue between the two.
Oh yeah,
characters.
it's right there. It's suggestive.
Yeah, it's not good. And it's just amazing that no one was just like, no, George, we're just gonna have an intervention here. We can't say that. So
awesome.
Yeah. So this brings us to Z versus Z, which we referred to. So why did the British say Z? And it's just because it's from the Greek zeta. And this became the Old French zede, and then just down to Z in English in the 15th century. And so why did the U.S. call it Z? And so it's not the original reason how this started, because in the beginning, of course, the U.S. they called the Z as well. But there's the B, C, D, E, G, P, T, V, and it's just thought there's probably someone along the way just was like Z. It just works. It's consistent with all the letters. So.
It's like, and now it is.
Yeah. So the first known instance of this was in Lie's New Spelling Book, was published in 1677, and they used it as the correct way was Z. And then it was Noah Webster once again. He gave it his seal of approval in 1827 as Z should be the way we say it instead of Z, and it just sort of caught on. It started to caught on more in mass there, and then the alphabet song, of course, was the one that really killed the Z in the U.S. just because with the rhyming at the end.
How does that end? Tell me the alphabet song.
So it's just X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Yeah, it doesn't so work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work so well. It's X, Y, Z. Now I know my ABCs.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't flow. So did you have an alphabet song? And was there like
No.
Really?
No.
You just had to
I don't think so.
Yeah, just raw memories.
The most thing I remember about learning the alphabet is I really didn't know it for very long, but they'd always test you. And you know that bit where you get to in the middle, you're like, blah, 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 LMNOP.
Yeah.
I had no idea how that went. I was just like, yeah, elemento. It sounds like a word. So I'd just be like, just say it like elemento and then carry on.
See, that's
So if anyone ever asked me to write it down, I'd be screwed.
See, that's the thing in the U.S. Like everyone can do it just because of the song. Everyone knows the song, and so yeah, it's a mnemonic, nice memory mnemonic to come with. And that actually because so you got like children.
Well, hang on. I feel like I know it.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E,
Yeah,
F, G.
There you go.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Wait, did I miss something?
No, you got it all. I was gonna say it's gonna be really funny if you
Great.
get one wrong because then it's gonna be like Simon doesn't even know the alphabet.
Well, did you like how I just did the elemento bit? Yeah, elemento.
Yeah.
E-L-M-E-N-O.
Yeah. So yeah, that's with sort of the you got online children's education and stuff. The Z has been spreading more in recent years, just because of the song and the various videos that have
Like a
that.
plague.
Yeah. So it's like catching on.
Like a coronavirus.
Yeah, pretty much. And so now we're gonna get to why do Americans say math and British people say maths, which is just.
I like how you don't have to say it like that. We're not all being like, what's up next? What's the next subject? Maths.
But don't you? Don't.
Yeah, we do. You've seen it would be like in Harry Potter. Wait, they don't. In Harry Potter, do they take regular lessons? I know this is massively off topic, but I never really thought about
She
it.
does.
Because
Hermione does.
Everyone.
She takes some math,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
called like arithmancy or arithmancy or something like that instead of mathematics or math, something like that. But yeah, she's like the only one.
There must be. Okay. Everyone else has basic, real trouble with like, oh no, I have no idea how much money I have. Hopefully, there's a spell for that.
Well, that's the interesting thing because if you really look at it objectively, the Muggles are so much more advanced. Like the wizards are stuck from like a century ago or so in like every way,
true.
and the Muggles are just like have these like awesome like the internet and stuff like this. It's just like yeah. Either way, so Matt,
It's just like, oh, we've got flying cars. We have planes.
yeah.
They are substantially faster and more comfortable.
Yeah. So, math versus maths. So you'll often read
Sorry, yeah. that was a tangent.
the math lovers of the world will win this. So math was first, right? But this actually isn't correct. Maths was first, but we'll get into why that doesn't actually matter in a little bit. So it wasn't.
We'll get into why this doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
But why it doesn't matter in the argument that one is correct or the other. So it wasn't until the last half century or so when the UK British English started saying maths instead of math. It turns out before that, on both sides of the pond, or I should say, before that they would use both, and then on both sides of the pond at one point, math and maths was used, but that still doesn't matter, as you'll see. So math, of course, is just an abbreviation of mathematics, and this is the earliest instances were just that math period or maths period, or sometimes maths with an apostrophe S, so the apostrophe taking place of all the letters in between, Yeah. And so these were all of them. So we got 1847, when W.G. Hammond wrote in his diary, this was one of the early, it rained so that we had a math period lesson indoors. So he's just abbreviating. And then, so we have, a lot of people say the first maths wasn't until 1911. An English soldier and poet, Wilfred Edward Salter Owen, wrote, "The answer to maths," with a period, "quests," as in question, but he abbreviated that as well, "were given us all this morning." So this is supposedly the first instance of that. But it turns out it actually goes back much further than that. And now I have lost my place. Yes, here we are. 1818. So a letter from the Secretary of the War written by War Secretary John C. Calhoun. And so he writes, I don't know, what name do you suppose that is? CHS, period.
Maybe Chester?
Chester? Yeah, sure. Davies is listed as a ASS period, so assistant. Yeah.
Arse prof.
Yeah, professor of maths with a period. So he's, again, just abbreviating it. The next one was 1836, was when Edward C. Ward was a prof of maths. And this one, he used the apostrophe S to do that. And then we also had, I just like to point these out because it's just like the only thing anyone would ever remember of this. There's one T.C. Rice and P.H. Wortham in the Merit Roll of the Cadets of the Virginia Military Institute, published sometime around 1854. All it says, and this is all anyone will ever remember of these two individuals, deficient in maths. with the apostrophe S.
Yeah.
Poor guys. Where are we?
All anyone will ever remember.
Yeah.
And then we'll forget this. And then the world will be destroyed. And everyone will forget everyone.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
Coming to it.
Yay.
Yeah. Like the heat death of the universe or something when potentially everything.
Unless coronavirus gets us all first.
Yeah. But it should be noted here, one of the reasons this doesn't matter, as to which was first here, is because no one said it math at the time. It was always, if you saw the abbreviation, just like you see the abbreviation for prof, you don't say, I didn't say prof, I say professor, right? I see the abbreviation, but I don't say it that way. And this was the same type of thing with maths. It's not thought anyone spoke it. Not just for this reason, but also because just like, speaking abbreviations like that back then really wasn't like a thing until more like it was like a 20th century thing. Like when you have an acronym, you didn't say it like to become a word. You would always, say it as the full thing, or just, that it was. This is more like a 20th century thing. We've covered that a few times. There's a great quote.
That must have been a real hassle.
Yeah.
When there's especially super long ones.
Yeah.
And just everyone's saying it all the time. And they have really long signs outside buildings.
Yeah. There was a linguist professor. I didn't include the quote here, but he has a quote on this. Just there was some, like, the first one he ever found was in the late 19th century. There was something to do with the Native Americans or something where there is evidence that people actually said it very briefly, but it was not something that, stuck around. And then it wouldn't be until the 20th century that became more of a thing. So
I think it'd be cool if we started, like Rev, Prof.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean, I guess some people, you might say prof, the prof,
It's slang though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be common. So this brings us to why.
Prof.
Why in some cases do people say maths is correct? And so some people will say, the pro-math speakers of the world will say, it's because mathematics is plural, right? It's got the S on the end, so it should be maths, right? But mathematics is not plural. And even the people who say maths don't think it's plural, because you don't say, my favorite subjects are maths, right? You say, my favorite subject is maths. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And this is because it is mathematics is, of course, a mass noun, so it's not a counting noun. You don't. It's like like media, or like, what are some other examples I have written here somewhere that I can't find now? So it doesn't matter. It's a math noun, not counting.
Okay. I'm already so confused.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, wait, which is a noun again?
Right? Yeah,
my English is absolutely horrible, I have to say.
This is the thing.
It really is a joke.
So, like, I'm trying to, learn Spanish and stuff. And so this is my instructors.
Oh, dude.
My instructors always tell, she's like, no, this is the imperative of that. And I'm like, okay, that's not helping. Like,
dude, it took me so long to understand subject and object.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
Charlie sits on the horse doesn't sit on Charlie. I know I'm not 8, but I still don't get it.
No, exactly. And she'll be like, this is the preterite of that. And I'm like, okay. And actually, that one I do know, because the particular Spanish course I'm taking is that from the Master of Memory, right? They use memory palaces and stuff, which is really effective, actually. And this is where the preterite, I know it's the one by the store shelves, like in all the words, like he has a store. And then the preterite's always stored on the shelves where you buy objects, right? So this is the preterite. So I just know.
Wait, what is a preterite?
I don't know, but I know it's the one by the store shelf. So I know. Oh. So I'll always know which conjugation that is, just by which one's on the shelves where you buy things. Like, I got that. But what actually preterite means, I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. I've never even heard of it before.
I mean, if I had to guess from how you use it, it's when you do something like you got something, like a one-time instance. But
I'd assume it's got something to do with fighting aliens.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, predators.
Yeah. No. So it's where? How did we get here? Where are we? I don't even remember.
I don't even know. I'm so lost.
Yeah. Plurals. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Scrolling. So yeah, similar to
all I see the notes, and all I see is mathematics, maths. Where are
we?
See,
that's part of the problem, is I just started going with it, rather than actually going with the structure of the notes there. But no, so you have mathematics, right? It's just a broad field of study known as mathematics. You don't have, like, there's not multiple. You wouldn't say I have 2 mathematics. You just say, mathematics. And similar like physics, linguistics, and economics, which we'll get.
I would say I have 2 mathematics professors.
Exactly. But see, that's referring to the
But
professors.
that's plural.
You're not talking about the mathematics.
Plural of the professors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. And so again,
Yeah.
it's not plural. And so you do see abbreviations of other things like economics. You might abbreviate to, econ, right? But no one abbreviates it econs, right? Or linguistics, it would be ling, period, and not lings. And, similar. I do think the physics one, it would be kind of good. You wouldn't, in that one, because there's the extra S, you wouldn't know if the S was from the end or if you're just saying phys, but just to call it phys, physics. That one's kind of fun.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the sort of the folk etymology is how we come up with the idea that it was plural, even though it was never plural. But it is thought maybe this is why people would kept the S sometimes, is because maybe at some point people also thought, oh, this is plural, so when I abbreviate it, I'll have to keep the S at the end, even though, like, if you're abbreviating something and it's plural, you don't necessarily have to keep the plurality of it, right? It's not like a requirement. But either way, so going on to, there was instances in the early going that a couple of people did use it as plural in the early. So we have Baldwin and Craddock's Library of Useful Knowledge Mathematics, published in 1836, and he says now the mathematics are peculiarly well adapted for this purpose, and stuff like that. But for the most part, everyone's always used it as a singular type thing because it is a mass noun. And here's my list of other mass nouns like music, water, faculty, garbage, furniture, evidence, humanity, and luggage. Yeah.
So that's a mass noun.
Yeah. And so, well, you also have...
And then something new every day.
Yeah, you also have...
Today I found out,
like,
you might say.
Faculty or media. The media is one that you might use it both ways, right? People will say it both ways, is the media is sensationalizing the news, or the media are sensationalizing the news. Like, that's, people would, either way, no one would...
Oh, yeah, both work.
Yeah, no one would think that was weird. But mathematics never, people always just say is and all that. So...
Although I don't understand what you mean, where the media sensationalizing the news.
Yeah,
It's
that
weird.
never happens. So
Yes, unfamiliar to me.
yeah, I do think at some point, the problem is it's not evergreen content, but we could make like a news that's just like completely, like actual, not sensationalized. It would never do well because no one would read it or share it. But it would be like, if you want to just completely, this is just the facts of the thing. And I mean, some people do say, I haven't bought a newspaper and like ever really my whole life, but people do say newspapers, you can still get like more of a old style, like a little less sensationalized. They're not going for the click. They already got you. You already paid for the newspaper. So either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have thoughts about this. I think
Yeah.
it could work if you did it right.
Yeah, it would take a ton of research though, because even like, politics and then
Yeah, but it's relatively surface level research. This is a conversation for another day and probably one we can
yeah.
Yeah. Logistically, I think it's not super complicated to pull off.
Yeah, it was just whether it would ever be popular because everyone wants the
I think if
sensationalized.
there's some things you do, it would work.
Yeah.
I think it would work.
Yeah, I don't know if you already have the platform to promote it. Maybe that could be good.
Yeah. I think even without, you could do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now we are going. Where are we here? Yeah, that was basically it. But neither math or maths is correct because again, the whole point of communicating, if you say maths, I say math, we both know what each other's talking about. Neither of us are confused in the slightest, similar to my argument for soccer, is nobody's confused here. Sure, if you want to call it the proper, like internationally, football, fine. But the whole point is just to communicate ideas in math, so neither is wrong because, who cares? They're both just abbreviations from mathematics.
It's functional. It's fine.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There are actual problems in the world. The difference between
like coronavirus.
Yeah. But, comment sections for you really, because you're British. Like if I'm an American and I'm saying math, no one's going to care. But you say maths, people are going to be like, oh, that's weird, Simon. Or if you say math, stop pandering to the
British
Americans.
people ever stop pandering to the Americans is the undying refrain of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting fact.
Goddamn Nike.
Yeah, interesting fact. Before math was used as an abbreviation.
That was me throwing up in my mouth. at this. It's very upsetting.
Yeah. Before math was was abbreviation for mathematics.
God damn.
It actually was an Old English word, meant mowing. I just thought, as in
What, like mowing a lawn?
well, cutting your crops. So you're like mowing, like wheat fields. I
Yeah, I guess they didn't mow lawns back in the day. Like that seems like an insane waste of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean that is where we
Does that help feed my children?
where we got the grass fields, like the whole grass lawn thing. Originally was to mimic sort of the British and European, where the really wealthy would have those grass. Like if you had like a palace,
Yeah.
and you had that grass that would kept cut short outside. So that was kind of the.
It is. This is one of those things. You know, there's so many things that I think about, and it's like, wow, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, this would have been the absolute height of mega luxury.
Yeah.
And now it's something that it's weird if you don't have. Like if you've got a house, having a nicely manicured garden, which is just for leisure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is like, wow, that's got to be pretty insane. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Or even like now where you got like a tablet from Amazon, like if you get their sale on Christmas, their cheapest one, it's like $25.
It's like $30.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like this tablet. It's like a full-on computer that does like, I mean, it's not awesome by like top-end tablet standards, but it works. It's functional.
I have a tablet which I just use I bought it because I got sick of turning my lights on and off from my phone and having to open the app. So I bought a tablet which I just have, it's on all the time, you know, and I just use it to control the studio lights.
Yeah.
Because $25 saves me opening up my app and closing my app like 17 times a day.
Yeah.
So I have a lighting tablet.
Yeah, it's amazing. Or like old phones, I usually keep them because they still work for purposes like that, you know, rather than like toss them away. Or like, you know, I use them for like the kids' cameras, you know, like if you have like a, you know, baby or whatever, you got a camera. So just use an old phone for a dedicated. It's always on. It's always just, you know.
I have to say I normally use my phones until they die. So
Yeah.
that's probably because I'm not the most careful person with my phone.
Yeah, well, it's usually the die for me is always just the battery stops working, you know, well, like functionally. But at that point, you can just plug it in and leave it plugged in, you know, to use for something else.
Sometimes I've run into it that the battery's so ruined that it'll plug in, but it'll still drain all the way down, and then it will charge back up again. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but occasionally you'll come across it. Like I use my old phone to be a teleprompter, like to do the display for the teleprompter, and this problem was happening. So eventually I was like, oh great. So and it was fine 90% of the time, but 10% of the time I'm going to come to it and it's like still charging, and I'm like, well, I need to record this script now. So then I ended up buying just a cheap phone to do that.
Also going back to the mathematics, it didn't just mean like arithmetic, like doing, you know, working with numbers. So around the late 18th or 19th century was when so before this, it had many fields of study were mathematics. So you had astrology, music, arithmetic, and even optics were all mathematics. Right. And this, I'm just bringing this up because there's a lot of like misunderstanding about. So St. Augustine advised Christians to steer clear of mathematici, stay away from those mathematicians. And so a lot of people nowadays confuse that to like he's meaning like actual mathematicians, like, you know, but he was really just talking about astrologers is what he was going for there. Not like, you know, mathematicians as we would think of.
Bit of a difference there.
Yeah. So, and that is today's show. We do have. There's two more. This one's already so long, but I have two more things I really wanted to talk about with language. And so we're just going to do it in a different episode. Nothing to do with the difference between once we finish this series, because I wanted to go. It sort of expands on some of the things we've already discussed here, but also is super interesting on dictionaries and stuff like that. So it's that doesn't.
Cool. I really need to pee, so that actually works quite well.
It doesn't sound super. I'm like, it's on dictionaries. It's going to be super like a thriller. But no, it actually is really interesting.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So reviews. Now get to reviews.
I see an email pasted in here.
Yeah.
Shall I handle that?
Yeah, sure.
Is this from the Skillshed?
Yeah,
dude, or what?
Jared. I don't know. Should we say I'll just say Jared O.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a famous last name for the wrong reason. Firstly, thank you so much for reading my comments. Are we supposed to read people's emails that they send to us? I don't feel this is like public.
That's true.
I mean, it's positive.
That's true. Usually
weird,
it's
but if someone read
reviews.
my email that I'd sent them privately, I'd be like,
There's
no,
nothing
it's not.
controversial here. He's not like
Okay, just let me read it.
I don't think I read it.
Oh, okay. So he's just saying he's working on putting his first class up on Skillshare. He'll send us the link when it's first up.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge for him.
Yeah.
And he has a newfound respect for what we do.
Yeah. It's harder.
Well, I don't know. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard now, but how many iterations?
No.
Go,
I'm totally kidding. It's pretty complicated.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Even now we're still perfecting the system, which the new workflow you have there on the Trello, way better.
This was my first. Yeah, I dedicated the first half of this year to basically no new projects and just getting everything optimized.
Yeah.
So everything is now in Trello.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. I tried a competitor who sponsored us. It was worse. So I guess they're not going to be a sponsor anymore.
Trello sponsored us once. We should get them back.
Let's get Trello back.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. In fact, did you hear that buzz? I tried to mute my iPad, but it didn't work. That's a Trello notification right now telling me that a video is ready for me to check out. How great is that?
Yeah. Nice.
Way. Shall I do some reviews?
Mm-hmm.
Facts and banter. 5 stars. Whoa, these reviews are all super recent. Do we get that many reviews? Awesome.
Yeah.
Loads of interesting facts, as always, with the added commentary in a relaxed environment. As an aside, I could switch from YouTube to the podcast, but really prefer the unedited version. I feel the mistakes add something. Well, at least for me, it makes it even more personable.
No, this time there's no freezing, but there was a hilarious on the last one. There was one point where I knew you had said a joke because but like when it was
You just completely silent.
No, there was a silent for like 3, and then I just started like laughing because I knew you said a joke, and so I was kind of waiting for you to come back to make sure you were done before I started laughing, and so then I started just like it is the awkwardest funny thing if you go watch the YouTube version, because it's like it's so obvious to me what happened, right? But like when you're just watching, it just looks like I'm silent and then just start laughing, right? And then you came back and then we continued on. And that is some of the time, like the joke is sort of like I ignore what Simon says. But like quite often when that happens, it's really I have no clue what Simon said. So I'm just like, oh yeah. That's interesting. Anyway.
So dude, it's been great today.
There's no freezing, not once.
I plugged in my Ethernet.
Yeah.
Because I bought all this stuff and you were like, Simon, I know computers, it's not the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. And I tend to agree with you because the Wi-Fi signal is super good.
Yeah, really fast.
But no, I plugged in the Ethernet and it totally works much better.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. You must have like some interference from somewhere. Something's interfering at but yeah.
The walls are like this thick.
Yeah.
So it might be that, but I can almost see it. It's like in the other room over there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I should say who that's from. It's from Shadow Corpse C, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Corpse, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Moving on. Love it, 5 stars. Did you choose just 5-star ones?
No, I just went to the recent ones that were more than like
epic.
5 words, you know?
Do you want me to read this whole thing? It's like 20 minutes long.
I don't know what it's. I honestly didn't read them beforehand.
Shall I read it as quick as I can?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I learn lots of super interesting facts in every episode. It's always fun to listen to. I drive for work in a nasty Seattle traffic, no less, and have been listening to a lot of the videos from a couple of Simon's channels while driving since I love educational content. So I was super excited with this podcast. It started the same type of great content in a better format to listen to while I'm stuck on the road and obviously can't access the controls for YouTube. So it's a single episode of the show will easily last my whole drive. All around love the content, but I especially love the episodes that go off on super interesting tangents about how things are connected to each other in unexpected ways, and the stories about notable women, since I feel a lot of education providers don't really cover all of these nearly so much, even if there is a topic that's seen covered in one of the YouTube videos. I love hearing it in more depth and freeform fashion. P.S. Shout out as a female listener. I don't know why the numbers are skewed towards male listeners, but because the concept is obviously not skewed towards a male audience, so this podcast continue to attract more female listeners.
That was good. I don't even think you made any mistakes. I was following along.
I made a couple of mistakes,
did you?
but I mostly covered them. I think there was one where it was like talking about TIFO videos.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like I'd screw up the pronunciation of TIFO, so I just said YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't an exact read. But
no.
This is actually how I do so many videos. I read them at that speed and then I slow it down 2 times.
Yeah. Pro tip.
Was that a good review? I have to say, when reading that, I was just focusing on reading, so I
It
didn't
was,
really
it
pay
was a very
attention.
good review. And also outlining the strengths of the podcast of you do get to bring in all these ideas from other things, whereas when you're just doing a video on YouTube, it has to be more about this one topic, whereas here you can be like, oh, there's this tangent.
Wow, I didn't even remember reading that.
Yeah, so that
Great, thank you.
there'll be like a tie-in tangent that can, kind of interesting and sort of ties, things that you can expand, that some, the stuff gets cut out of the regular video. I don't know. I think the podcast is better.
Thank you.
I enjoy
Cannabis Hobo.
I enjoy those more.
I enjoy it. I like the freeform stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's like fun. It doesn't really feel like work at all. I mean, my work doesn't feel like work in general, but this particularly doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. Did we say who that was?
Thank you, Cannibal Hobo.
Cannibal, yeah.
That was the person. Should I do one more?
Yeah, one more.
This one's relatively short, so I'm not going to, speed read it. JM Cell Hatton 93. My name is James McCallhatton. Thanks. I really... Sorry, I don't know why I said that. It makes me sound like a dick. It's like... He just introduced himself, and I'm like, I don't need to know that, James, do I? Thanks for your 5-star review. Sorry. I really want to hear Simon try and pronounce my name. McCallhatton? How would you say it?
McKelliton? Yeah, I mean, sure.
McCallhatton?
I don't know. James.
LOL.
Got that one.
Jimmy Boy McGee. That's what. Yeah, Jimmy Boy McGee. I've been a huge fan of the show. He's probably less of a fan now, and I can't wait to listen to each podcast. I live in Northwest Ohio. Ohio, unfortunately. Oh, I don't know anything about Ohio, but he's a child of the corn.
Yeah.
I work at a feed mill that makes various feeds for a variety of animals. The last episode I listened to compared the thickness of white and brown eggs, and I thought I'd give a little insight from a feed perspective. The more calcium you feed a chicken, the thicker the egg will be. That's why some chicken feeds you'll find oyster shells. Keep up the great work. Cheers.
That's a good fun fact.
I was wondering what happens to oyster shells. Because, you go to a restaurant, you smash 12 of those, and then you've got a giant pile of shells.
Yeah.
It's like, where are these going?
Yeah, that's interesting.
They're making chickens.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's all for today.
Today I found out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got to work on our wrap up.
Yeah.
Leave us a review. Thanks.
Yeah.
And maybe I won't make fun of you. This has been the Brain Food Show. I've been Simon. That's been David.
That's an interesting one. Would you always say that? I've been, because I hear a lot of British people saying that. Is that?
No, I was sarcastically saying it because that's how I hear radio DJs.
I hear British people again always saying that. I mean, is that like a thing, like a common thing? But
I'm Simon Whistler for Dave and Hiskey. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, exactly. So you got like the who's the
I don't understand the for, because you do it in America. It'll be someone for someone, which makes no sense to me. I don't get that.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I would just say, I am.
Like I listen to Adam Carolla's podcast, and he's always like, "I'm Adam Carolla for Paul Bryan and Gina Grad."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "What does this mean?"
Yeah, that all doesn't. Yeah, who's the guy from Red Dwarf that plays the robot, who is now the host of something charged, fully charged.
Fully charged.
Yes. So he always says that I've
been.
And yeah, we can't remember his name. And that I always thought that was kind of a weird thing. I have been. That doesn't make any sense.
Robert Llewellyn.
Yeah, there we go. And so, yeah, I didn't know if you were saying that because that's just the thing British people say. But no, you're just being...
No, I was just making fun. In fact, I should have said for, because that's even better.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, it's super
You
radio.
could just combine them and be like, I've been for.
That's the best. All right, everybody. We'll be back soon enough with a new episode. And thank you all for listening.